People say your life starts at birth, but mine, it started at a crossroad, an absurd choice between my brother and me. You see, I was born a genius. No, really, I was. From solving complex algebra at the age of 4 to helping my dad with tax returns by 6. My mind was more akin to a supercomputer than a playground for childhood memories. I've always known my brain made me different, in a way that unsettled my dad, Robert. I'd catch him squinting at me suspiciously across the dinner table as I argued the finer points of quantum mechanics with stepmom's chicken pot pie. My brother Danny, 2 years younger and infinitely less complicated, was dad's solace in a world where his eldest son corrected his grammar. Danny, bless him, couldn't spell cat if you spotted him the C and the A. Then one fine day, Danny fell ill, seriously ill. Doctors were bafflingly talking about rare diseases and life-saving treatments, and each sentence they spoke was punctuated by a ka-ching that I swear wasn't just in my head. These were dollars and cents we didn't have. This is when I learned that the choice between a child who talks back in scientific theories and another who needs you in a way that tugs at parental heartstrings isn't really a choice at all. Danny got the treatment, and I got a one-way ticket to fend for myself. "Foster homes aren't so bad, Max," Robert said, not meeting my eyes. "They help kids like you. Bright kids." Ironic, isn't it? You'd think genius would be an asset, but nope, not when medical bills are looming over your family like a vulture. I was cast away, like a faulty cog in a perfect family clock. As I walked away from the only home I knew, a tiny suitcase clutched in my hand, I glanced back. There they were, huddled together, tears streaming down their faces. Only then did it strike me. I wasn't the prodigy. I was the sacrificial lamb. And thus a new chapter started for me. No longer was I Max, the beloved son and brother, but rather Max, the castaway. It wasn't a fall from grace. It was more like a nosedive from grace into the concrete reality of life. The way I saw it, I had two choices. Let it break me, or let it make me. Well, spoiler alert, I chose the latter. From childhood genius to abandoned son, that's how I ended up in the middle of nowhere. It was my dad who made the call. Robert, the man who needed a calculator to tip the waitress, feared his own son's intelligence. Go figure. I'd always been sharp, but when your father starts calling your brain a weapon of mass disruption, you know you've crossed the line. Seriously, he acted like I was about to unleash Skynet or something. Terminator movies? Anyone? No? Just me? Okay then. Moving on. He told me it was for my own good. "A school for special kids," he said. I'll give it to him. He's got a knack for euphemism. As if getting shipped off to a rundown foster home was a golden ticket to Hogwarts. No magic wands, just old brooms. No magical creatures, just a lot of rats. Oh, and a school owl? Forget it. The only thing flying was the roof during stormy nights. I tried my best to blend in, dumbing down my speech to monosyllabic grunts, replacing quantum physics with MTV. It was as if I'd landed on an alien planet and was trying to mimic the natives. "Do you miss your family?" a sympathetic social worker once asked me. "Do Kardashians miss the spotlight?" I shot back, earning a surprised blink and a choked laugh. One winter night, huddled on the freezing floor with nothing but a thin blanket and my thoughts, I made a promise to myself. I was gonna survive, to come back stronger. I'd rise, not in spite of Robert, but because of him, because he underestimated the power he was so scared of. So here I was, abandoned, alone, but unbowed. My humor was my shield, sarcasm my sword, and my massive brain, that was my superpower. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to go watch another rerun of Friends on the community TV. Ross and Rachel's on-again, off-again relationship is the only drama I need right now. It's funny how fiction can be an escape, a refuge from the harsh realities of life, isn't it? But I digress. That's a story for another day. Fast forward a few years and there I was, a genius condemned to the mundane ritual of a 9-to-5 grind. Ironic, isn't it? Master of quantum physics, ruler of differential equations, and lord of the cash register. "Good evening, Max." A voice pulled me out of my internal monologue. It was Miriam, the mysterious Tuesday girl. I couldn't help but return her smile. "Good evening, Miriam. Pickles and thumbtacks again today?" I asked, the familiarity of our exchange warming up the cold, fluorescent-lit store. Miriam laughed, a soft sound that seemed out of place in our transactional world. "Just a bit of light shopping, you know. Oh, and this." She slid a folded paper across the counter, her hazel eyes twinkling with something akin to mischief. A handwritten letter in the age of DMs and emojis? It was more outdated than a floppy disk. But curiosity was a persistent beast. With the end of my shift, I unfolded the piece of paper, the neatly penned words staring back at me. Max, I know who you are, and I know what you're capable of. A chill ran down my spine, a mix of fear and excitement. The letter went on to divulge information only a handful knew. My father was looking for a right-hand man, and she thought I'd be perfect for it. I couldn't help but laugh, the sound echoing around my tiny apartment. Me? Working for the man who feared my intelligence enough to throw me away? It was more ridiculous than a reality TV star becoming president. Wait, too soon? Well, what did I have to lose? After all, every Batman needs his Joker, every Sherlock his Moriarty, every Kanye his... everyone? Let the games begin. So I accepted the challenge, and they accepted me. Miriam made sure to put in a good word, and I was in. Only this time, I was no longer a boy. I was a player. My life's irony hadn't escaped me. I was about to work for the man who tried to stifle my intelligence. Maximilian. My new boss greeted me, completely oblivious to our connection. Yes, the man was my father, Robert. Yet, to him, I was just another employee, another pawn in his corporate chess game. Mr. Peterson, I responded, maintaining our professional facade. Just as we're about to start, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Miriam. How's day one of Operation Take Down the Tyrant? I smirked at her attempt to make our situation sound like a cheesy action movie. In response, I texted, about to start my first mission, Agent L. Wish me luck. The reply came in an instant. You don't need luck, Max. You've got something better. A brain. Miriam and I had kept in touch after the mysterious letter incident. She revealed that she had been keeping tabs on Robert, her father's business rival, and recognized me from an old family photo. We formed an unlikely bond, united by our shared mission. And maybe, just maybe, a hint of something more. Day after day, I sat in high-level meetings, silently outwitting my father. It was almost too easy, like playing chess with a pigeon. It struts around, knocks over the pieces, poops on the board, but still thinks it's winning. I could see the endgame, and my father was none the wiser. After all, the king never sees it coming until it's too late, right? I couldn't wait to see the look on his face when he realized that his first-hand man was none other than his discarded son. In a classic move of overtop villainy, my father decided we needed an AI. Not just any AI. No, that wouldn't be exciting enough. He wanted a world-dominating, self-aware, Terminator-style AI. I kid you not, the man asked me to create Skynet. I had to resist rolling my eyes out of my skull. And what should this AI do, sir? I asked. Dominance, Maximilian, he declared. I want an AI that can manipulate global markets, influence governments, the whole shebang. I nodded, keeping my poker face straight. It's funny how destiny works, though. In his quest for global domination, my father handed me the chance to make a real difference. I mean, who's better to create a life-saving AI than a genius who's got the father of all grudges? Hello, Miriam. We've got a project. I texted her, excitement tingling in my fingers. Interesting. What's up? She shot back. We're building an AI, but not the one Robert has in mind. Let's save some lives. While my father dreamed of world domination, I set out to develop an AI that could revolutionize healthcare, predict climate catastrophes, and counteract every malicious intent Robert had in mind. If he wanted a chess game, I'd give him a checkmate he'd never forget. While I was busy playing hero in secret, a different drama was unfolding in the Peterson Empire. Enter stage left, the wicked stepmother and stepsister duo. Their weapon of choice? Love, or at least a deceitful semblance of it. Robert, being the sentimental fool that he was, fell right into their trap. You'd think a man that was ruthless in the business would know better. But alas, love, or lust really, made even the hardest men go soft. No pun intended. One day, I walked into a board meeting to a shocking sight. Robert, my tyrannical father, reduced to a mere puppet, with stepmother Deborah pulling the strings and stepsister Chloe smirking at the other end of the table. It was like watching the Kardashians meet the Godfather. Maximilian, Deborah said in her best I'm so rich I don't need to try voice. Do run along and fetch us some coffee. The room felt silent, everyone turning to look at me, their eyes wide. Robert sat there, spineless and mute. I had two choices, to walk out in a huff or stay and fight. I chose the latter. No problem, Deborah, I replied, my voice icy calm. You like it with 2 sugars and a hint of cyanide, right? The boardroom erupted in laughter, and I allowed myself a victorious smirk. Step 1 of Operation Take Back the Throne, complete. Miriam texted me later that evening. You did well today, Max. But remember, this is just the beginning. I couldn't agree more. I was in the middle of a corporate war and I was ready to win. Bring it on, Deborah. Bring it on. Deborah and Chloe were a package deal of nasty. The real-life version of the evil stepmother and stepsister trope. And believe me, they were as terrible as they sound. They were the main reason I ended up in foster care, making my life miserable with their constant belittling. Deborah's snide remarks and Chloe's unending taunts, they were like Cruella and the evil queen's love children. I remember when I was 12, overhearing Deborah say to my dad, "Don't you think Maximilian is too different? I fear he could become a bad influence on dear Danny." It wasn't rocket science to figure out that she wanted me gone, and she got what she wanted. I was packed off to foster care, away from my family and my brother. Speaking of Danny, my little bro, he was the one bright spot in my childhood. We were as close as brothers could be. But then he got sick. With all the medical bills piling up, I was the excess baggage that they decided to offload. I never held it against Danny, though. He didn't choose to get sick. But enough of the past. Danny is gone forever. I strolled into my father's office, a place that had always radiated an air of untouchable authority. The stern look on my face caught him off guard, but it was my words that would truly leave him stunned. "Dad, we have to talk." "What did you call me, Max?" His eyes widened. "You heard me right, Robert." The room was heavy with unsaid words and shared past. He let out a sigh. "I knew this day would come. Just didn't think it would be so soon." "I'm not here for apologies, Dad. I'm here to expose Deborah and Chloe. They're about to destroy everything you've built." His face paled. "What are you talking about?" "Your dear wife Deborah and her sweet daughter, they've been planning to sabotage you, Dad. This AI you've been so giddy about, it's Deborah's invention, not to advance the company, but to ruin you. To strip this company bare and run off with the bones." He looked like he was going to crumble right there. "I'm sorry, Max. I'm sorry I chose your brother over you. I'm sorry for everything. Since your birth mom wasn't there to help us through, I trusted that witch of a woman and decided to abandon you." "It's too late for sorries, Dad. But it's not too late to fix things. Let's save this company. Together." We walked into the boardroom, unannounced. The sea of surprised faces turned towards us, but my eyes were trained on Deborah and Chloe. Their smirks wilted under my gaze. "Deborah!" My voice echoed in the high-ceiling room. "Did you think you could get away with it?" Her face twisted in confusion. "What are you blabbering about, Max?" I held up the folder. "This, Deborah! Your great plan to destroy my father's company with your destructive AI." Gasps filled the room. My father stepped forward, voice trembling. Is this true, Deborah?" She scoffed. "Don't be ridiculous, Robert." But the evidence was damning. The proof was in her own handwriting, detailing every step of her plan. The room fell silent as the reality sank in. Robert crumbled onto his knees, devastated. I felt a twinge of pity for him, but this was necessary. He needed to see the snake he'd led into our lives. "I can't believe I trusted you, Deborah." Through it all, I kept my calm. The board watched in anticipation, all eyes on me. I let the silence stretch, letting the weight of the moment build. Then I looked at my father, still kneeling, a broken man. "Dad," I said softer this time, "it's time to rebuild, and it's time I take the lead." And so I became the boss, out of the shadows of my past into the helm of Peterson Enterprises. The fearful boy was gone, replaced by its true leader, ready to save a crumbling empire.